Additionally, Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory discusses development through a series of levels, which we can go through here. The microsystem is considered your immediate environment, such as your home, school, work, or church. The mesosystem discusses interactions among two or more environmental settings in which people live, according to Rogers. And for example, I have a microsystem 1 being your home life, family situations. Microsystem 2 being work. And then your mesosystem is how those interact together. So I believe the book talks about a stressful work environment, and then you bring that home, that impacts, your relationship at home, maybe with your spouse or your children, and those interrelationships is what equal the mesosystem. Additionally, there's the exosystem. So it's all the social settings in which things happen that affect people. So this is your microsystem, your home, your work, your school, your church. The mesosystem, the interactions of those things, that equals the exosystem. And then largely, or on a larger scale, the macrosystem is all the ways larger cultural factors affect development, according to Rogers. These are the rules, the regulations, the cultural norms, the values, your thought processes, any of those things that are related to how you develop in your own environment. Additionally, the ecological theory approach can be explained by the interrelationships between several different levels that we discussed, or areas of the individual's life. The Rogers text suggests that all people have transactions, or positive and negative exchanges with others. These interactions in turn provide opportunities for reactions or perceptions to form, which can further influence development. So if we go back, I had said earlier that really perception of an event or of a situation is everything. Ecology theory also focuses on the ability to adapt and overcome. When individuals are presented with difficult situations which make adapting impossible, coping is really essential, according to Rogers, to help people adjust to the negative events that occur in one's life. So, for example, when my grandmother, LGH's father, died during childhood, it directly impacted the structure and function of her family microsystem. That lack of her father's presence also directly impacted her functioning of her mesosystem, so how she engaged with people. And because of the changes at home, how she engaged with people at school and at church, that was impacted. Because the shift in her family structure resulted in several moves also. So she was changing mesosystems and microsystems quite frequently. This directly impacted her schooling, her friendship, and all of her other family relationships as well. Her encompassing exosystem didn't have the laws in place to support a one-person or parent family in that time, especially in times of the financial depression and the war. Her family was able to find support through cultural support and norms of her surrounding macrosystem, and it gave her the positive exchanges needed to adapt to her new environment and cope with her own loss despite the negative experience of her father's passing. Some of the limitations of Erikson's psychosocial development theory, according to Rogers, is that it doesn't account for individual differences in development, and also that ideas such as industry and inferiority are difficult to define and therefore are difficult to test. So my definition of what inferiority or industry are may be different than the way you define it. Additionally, if I'm saying that my grandmother is resourceful, what does resourceful look like to you? Does that mean that they're able to scrimp and save and spend very little money, or does that mean that they spend a little bit of money or spend more money and they use those things differently? It just depends on how people define those things. Also, according to Rogers, societal norms and expectations about the developmental processes that should occur at various ages are always changing. This is a great example in this particular day and age because this was the 1930s, and so expectations of what children should be doing in that time are very different than what's happening now. Also, we talked about her coming from a large family. that was more commonplace. You don't see too many families these days having 10 children or all living 7 people in one apartment, or, you know, those things aren't really socially acceptable the way they were back then. So these things are constantly changing and evolving. Also, it lacks relevance for some ethnic and other minority groups, according to Rogers. These are my references. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my presentation. I really enjoyed the assignment, and I look forward to hearing your alls. Thank you so much. Have a great night.